Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, I am glad you are here. Today, I wanted to go through my top 10 USA made knives in the collection as of now. Um, Not in really any particular order, but they're going to kind of go in order and they'll end with my number one. Kind of my top five will be my top five, but that could vary a little bit because, again, all these knives are special to me. They're all knives that I bought that I brought into the collection. And, with that, we'll kind of get on to it. Last thing before I get started, I'm going to ask if you guys would be so kind, hit that subscribe button down below and the bell notification icon next to it. The bell notification icon will let YouTube know you're a human who's interested in EDC content and notify you when I release new videos and help my videos be seen by more people. But let's get started. So the first knife in my top 10 USA made knives are the Ritter Hogue RSK, Ritter Survival Knife. This knife is kind of a evolution of the Benchmade Griptilian. Doug worked with Benchmade on the Griptilian, and when they severed that relationship or decided not to work together anymore, he partnered up with Hogue, and I think the RSK, the Ritter Hogue version of this knife, I think improves on the Griptilian in a lot of different ways. For one, it does come with this deep carry pocket clip that has a lanyard hole here, so it leaves you about this much of the knife exposed in the pocket, but it's still a deep carry clip. The G10 on this particular knife is done very well. It's got great texture, milled out, and just makes for a really stable knife in the hand. It also has good jimping on the G10 handles, as well as where this bar lock is, and this Axis style bar lock that Ritter Hogue uses, I feel is much more stable than the Benchmade bar locks. I don't know if it's because of the spring. I don't know if it's because of the way the action, the little bar lock there disengages, or that it's thicker. It just, to me, it feels more substantial. Another thing, this knife came in when I got it, I want to say at about $168. It's an exclusive that's only offered through KnifeWorks. Comes in 20 CV. It also comes now in MagnaCut, but mine is in 20 CV with a stonewash blade. It's the full-size version. I also have the mini, but it's not on this list. And number 10 of my top 10 is going to be the Ritter Hogue RSK1. So moving on, the second knife that we'll look at is a knife by Tactile Knife Company, formerly known, or not formerly known, but starting off as Tactile Turn, the pen company. This little knife, to me, has really been a joy to own and a joy to have. It's titanium with a MagnaCut blade. It is a very nice milled pattern. This is the old version of the Rockwall. It now comes out with putter mill patterns with all types of different finishes. This is the OG titanium in MagnaCut. I picked this up, I want to say, at Blade Show last year, or Custom Knife Show a couple years ago. I can't exactly remember, but I really like this knife. It's small. It is kind of elegant, has a great clip. Just really what a gentleman's folder should be, I think. I mean, I think it just works very well. I've enjoyed it. I use it quite often. It's up to, any task that a primary carry in my urban environment is going to be up to. Would it be big enough to go out and survive in the woods? It'd be better than having a sharp stick, but of course there are better knives for that. But coming in at number 8 in our top USA made knives from Texas, USA, Tactile Knife Company, Rockwall. So moving on, we will come to a knife by my favorite USA manufacturer. I've got several knives by this company, and I could have really featured any of them in this video, but to give a little bit of variety, I'm going to leave it to what I consider their flagship, which is the TRM Three Rivers Manufacturing Shaddow. The Shaddow is, again, another river lock is what TRM calls it, but it's a bar style lock or an axis style lock that is done very, very well. This knife is very thin, very slicey. It's also in 20 CV. It's made by TRM. I want to say Three Rivers. I don't know if that's Michigan. I don't know exactly what state they're in. Massachusetts. I don't know. But anyway, they're super nice people. Um, just great. The Halperns who own it or owned Halpern Titanium that then started TRM are some of the kindest people I've met in the knife industry on the manufacturing side. And this particular knife, the TRM Shaddow, has fantastic ergos. It is light. It has great action, and it has a very thin, slicey blade, and that's how and why it is in my top 10 and one of my favorite knives all the way around. Just a great knife. Titanium clip, very smooth handles, unlike the Ritter Hogue, but not in a bad way, just a totally different feeling knife. But just a fantastic specimen. And the TRM Shaddow is definitely in the top 10, and the way we're counting, we'll put it in at number 7. So moving on, we will go to a knife by Benchmade that does not look like its original form from Benchmade. This is the Benchmade Mini Adamas in crew wear with some advanced weapons technology scales. So these scales replace the G10 scales with the 3 holes in each side, and they give you this matte Cerakoted aluminum scale. You still got the aggressive jimping that's built into the liners of the Mini Adamas. It's also carried through into these Applied Weapons Tech scales. They are just fitted perfectly to the knife. This knife, being in crew wear, is the knife that's given me the worst finger cut I've had since I've been in the knife game. I was actually adjusting this knife and was doing something with the pivot and had it sitting up like this. Had my pinky right here. When I turned the pivot screw, or I had it like this and this pinky right there, I turned the pivot screw and that blade fell down and it tapped the outside of my pinky nail, and I was like, thank goodness it hit my nail. Well, by the time I got my nail up, it had cut all the way through my nail and through a good part of my finger, almost to the bone. So I know this knife is up for any type of cutting task. It's got a very thick, strong, super strong crew wear blade, CPM crew wear, but it comes down to a razor sharp edge. The tuning of this knife is tuned perfectly. As far as Benchmade goes, this has one of the glassiest actions of any Benchmade in my collection. Plus, it's one of the most, I would say, overbuilt knives in my collection. Even though this is the mini version of the Adamas, I can't imagine how big the full-size Adamas would be, because for me, this is every bit a full-size knife. But it is made in America. It is a great knife, very elegant, very tactical, very hard to use, and I just love it. It's the Benchmade Mini Adamas, and it'll be in our top 10, and I think this one comes in, if we're counting backwards, at number 6. I might be off there, but I think we're up to number 5. And the number 5 knife that's going to come in is the smallest knife, well, the shortest knife. This isn't going to be actually smaller than the Tactile knife company Rockwall, but this is the Hinderer Halftrack. It's the smallest knife in the Hinderer group, and this one has a special clip that's a Lynch clip that's made for the Hinderers that was gifted to me by my brother, said Stevie. Stevie had gotten it for, if I'm not mistaken, his I'm going blank. Made in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. God, why am I going blank on this U.S. maker? I do not have one of their knives yet. I'm going to look them up at Blade Show this year. It's Stevie's favorite, one of Stevie's favorite knives, and I can't think of their name right now. But anyway, the clip would have had to have been milled down because the Hinderers have that inset. And so Stevie, instead of doing that, the guys at Lynch were going to make him one. And he was nice enough because he knew that I was a kind of a Hinderer guy that he hooked me up with it. So this has got the custom Lynch Hinderer clip, and it's got a this is in the stonewashed titanium, and I was able to find a show side titanium scale that matches. So this is a total titaniumed out half track. It is thick, it is overbuilt, but it is small, a small little Warncliffe, little Chody Warncliffe that is super sharp, super pokey. I know Tri-State got one, and his was not super slicey. I have not had to sharpen mine yet. Whoops. And again, this is like foam book paper thin, and I would cut it jacked up. But for a big, thick knife, it cuts very well. Much better than I'm making it cut. And with the point, it's very, very pokey. But yeah, great little cutter. And that's the Hinderer Halftrack. That one is made by Rick Hinderer and his team. This particular little specimen is in MagnaCut. It is on bearings, but it comes with a tri-way pivot system, which means you can run it on phosphorus bronze washers, or you can run it on Teflon washers, or you can keep it on the bearings. But I just love this little knife. I love Hinderer knives. I think they're built very well. They're hard-working knives, and I'm just a big fan. So at number 5, we've got the Hinderer Halftrack. So as we move on through our progression here, we'll come to, I guess, our number 5th knife, which is the Protech Mordax. The Protech Mordax is a flipper button lock where I was a huge fan, and still am, of the Protech Malibu. I've had a couple of Malibus. I've got a textured Malibu now. I picked up this particular Mordax last year in Atlanta. I picked it up from Dave at Protech. This one is a Ferrum Forged design, no longer a drop collaboration. Protech is doing it with Ferrum Forge. This particular knife has kind of been updated in the way that the blade is ground thinner than it was when it was a drop Ferrum Forge Protech, and they're doing it in MagnaCut. They've got it with this textured aluminum handle, really nice pocket clip, and action that I'm super impressed with. I was a big fan of, and still am, of the Malibu, but did not think that the Mordax that I originally handled was as snappy. When I picked this one up and started to play with it, I learned really quick that this is just a nice knife. It's a very able knife. It's a full-size knife that has great ergonomics for my hand, and it is very, very slicey. I know that I'm kind of Joe Fail paper cutter guy when I'm looking through the viewfinder, and I can't even rip out a single sheet of paper, but the Mordax is very slicey too, as are all of these knives. But I won't waste your time cutting more paper. But the Protech Mordax is a winner. I love the action. It's probably one of the best button locks in the game. Wii makes a really good button lock too, but I think Protech kind of has the recipe for the button lock, and the Mordax is no exception. Love this knife. Great cutter, great action. I usually don't like a flipper only knife, but with this knife, I'll definitely make an exception. It's just a wonderful knife. So that's the Protech Mordax. Moving on, we come to number 4, which is the Spyderco Shaman, Golden, Colorado, USA, Earth. This is a cutlery shop exclusive. You wouldn't note it because I do not have the G10 orange scales on it anymore. This is the CTS XHP Spyderco Shaman. This is also a very slicey knife. It has sharp dress scales that are in this purple carbon fiber or purple haze carbon fiber that I just absolutely love. To me, they're kind of mesmerizing. The colors, the way they dance around when you look at them in the light. It's got a deep carry clip from Lynch on it. Stonewash blade. Again, this came with the orange scales from Cutlery Shop. I quickly upgraded it to the purple haze carbon fiber. This kind of little trivia or random fact, this is the first knife I was able to reverse finger flick. I never was good at reverse finger flicking knives, and the Spyderco Shaman was the first knife that I really kind of dialed in my reverse flick, and still think it's one of the best actions on a Spyderco. It is overbuilt for a Spyderco. It's got thicker blade stock, but it's still got that real tall leaf-shaped blade that comes down, and it's just mega slicey. The ergos on this knife, which is a full-size knife, are great. The action on it's great. I love the CTS XHP steel, and have just been really pleased with this knife, and that's why it's in my top 10. I've got a lot of USA-made Spydercos, but the Shaman kind of stands by itself. Moving on, we will come to one of my faves, and this is the Medford Infraction with the stars and bars pattern. The stars and bars pattern gives you that old school tail emblem of a USA fighter plane. You've got this riveted look on the show side scale, carries over to the back scale, and that's actually milled into the titanium. This has got anode hardware, anode clip. It's a nice belt satin hologron blade. The ergonomics of this knife for my hand are just perfect. I love the blade grind. I love the overbuilt nature of this knife. I love the stop pins. It's a flipper knife that I just failed. So it does have a traditional flipper that I never use because I'm a reverse flipper guy. And this knife, you can either do it in the finger hole, you can do it down lower on the fuller, you can slow roll it, locks up very nicely. Again, overbuilt, but very nimble in what it's able to do. I mean, it's a great cutter, it's a great worker, and it would be a great deterrent if you needed to use it in a stressful situation. So coming in at number 3 in the top 10, or our top 10 countdown of USA made knives, is the Medford Infraction. So moving on, we will come to my second, number 2 knife, and that comes, I had to really wrestle with this one, but it came down to the XM18 3.5 inch Hinderer. This particular one is a Spanto blade, which is a dual grind. It's got kind of a thicker tip up here, but it's a drop point blade instead of a Tanto. It is in S45 VN, and I didn't tell you guys on the Medford, it is in S35 VN. but the Hinderer is S45VN. It is in battle bronze. It does have a titanium battle bronze textured show side scale. It is drop shutty. It's also on the tri-way system, has thumb studs and a flipper. So it's on bearings currently, but you can put it on phosphorus bronze washers. You can put it on Teflon washers. It works with the finger push, works with the light switch, works with the thumb studs are dialed perfectly. Reverse flick, dialed perfectly. This knife is just great. You know, I know people talk about Hinderer not heat treating their knives optimally, but I think they do a great job for what the knives are made for, and I think this knife stands up to everything I use it for. I don't hard use it enough, but I do appreciate it, and I do know that should I need to hard use it, it's going to be up for the challenge. So this is a fantastic knife, a work knife, something that you can take out and just beat on. Made in the USA, the Hinderer XM18. To our last knife and our number one, it is very able. It is a tactical knife, but it's not one that I'm going to beat on anytime soon. This is my Michael Zieba S5 Odin with the Knight Design Studios Jason Knight blade. It's got this nice M390 recurve blade that is just super slicey. Even though it's a looker, and what drew me to this knife was the artwork on it. It is very, very slicey. Even though I've got the worst paper and I'm probably one of the worst cutters in the game. But this is the thick blade stock. It comes down to a really, really sharp edge. Has a great sharpening choil. Has the Zeba branding here. Has Knight Knives, Jason Knight's blade with that deep, deep fuller. Nice poon here. Jimping here on the spine of the knife. The handle fits my hand absolutely perfect. You can choke up on this trigger, even though you're not encouraged to because you are really close to that blade, but I've cut with it a lot. What really attracts me to this knife, it's made in Brooklyn, New York by Michael Zieba. He is also a jeweler, and the detail, you guys might have seen my video on this knife. The detail on the back spacer, on those little skulls that are milled in the back spacer, the actual artwork, which is based on the Norse god Odin, which I assume that's Odin there, over the pile of skulls. Every time I look at this knife with some of the different ruins and the ruins that are here in the back spacer, don't know exactly what that says, but it definitely says something. And again, guys, this knife's just breathtaking to me. It's on bearings, drop shut, flipper only. I can get it by the fuller every now and then, but it's not one that's designed to be fuller flicked. But that is my number one USA made grail that I'm just blessed to have, thanks to my brother from another mother who made it available to me, Dark Gravity. Love this knife, love this knife, love this knife. He's also the fella who got me and turned me into a Hinderer guy. So I'm forever indebted to Dark Gravity and his kindness and just him being my brother. So that is my top 10 USA made knives, guys, in no particular order. We've got the Zieba Odin. We've got the Hinderer XM18. We've got the Medford Infraction. We've got the Spyderco Shaman. We've got the Fem Forge Protech Malibu, or excuse me, Mordax. We have got Ashley Drinking. We've got the Benchmade Mini Adamas. We've got the TRM Shaddow. We have got the Hinderer Halftrack. We have got the Tactile Knife Company, Rockwall. And we've got the Ritter Hogue RSK MK2. Guys, that's my top 10 out of my collection. All very subjective. All my choices. I hope everybody had a safe Memorial Day. I hope everyone remembered what Memorial Day was for and, kind of hung your head thanking all those who sacrificed for our freedom and continue to this day. Guys, please look out for the guy or gal to your left. Please look out for the guy or gal to your right. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the bell notification icon. Please look out for each other. Go forward with love in your heart. And please choose debate, not hate. I love you all. Peace.